Of hot takes with me, the Silver Fox. And some people just don't get it, do they? They don't understand the concept of fair play. They don't understand the concept of you've lost. But here we have another story, this time again involving cycling, and still involving Emily Bridges, the man who wants to race other women. And a major sponsor has pulled out because he thinks it's unfair to stop men racing women. What an arse. Anyway, I'm going to have a look at this story, so I'll put myself down into the corner and we will look at the article. Here we go. So here's the article. Major sponsor withdraws funding for a British cycling race in stand against the governing body's totally unacceptable decision to ban trans riders. Totally unacceptable to whom? It's not totally unacceptable to lady riders. It's not totally unacceptable to 99% to 99.99% of the population who see men racing against women as unfair. No, it's totally unacceptable for those trans riders who want to race against women. That's it. And they can't justify their decision to want to race against women as men who've benefited from male puberty. But we'll have a look at this. British cycling effectively blocked trans riders from competing at events. No, it didn't. British cycling simply said that trans riders cannot compete against women. It under no circumstances banned trans riders from competing. A significant benefactor of the Women's Cycle Classic has pulled out in protest. He's protesting that it's unfair to ban a man from racing a woman. But he's quite happy with the unfairness of a man racing a woman. Peter Stanton, an idiot, or an agenda-driven bigot, call it as you see it, has withdrawn funding over the totally unacceptable decision. He calls it totally unacceptable, but he's in the minority. Very, very, very tiny minority. British cycling suspended its transgender and non-binary participation because it's unfair. It's after transgender Emily Bridges failed to enter a women's event because he's a man. Anyway, getting into the piece. A major sponsor of British cycling races pulled out in protest at the governing body suspending their transgender policy. No, they haven't. This is the thing. Now, we must be clear about this. What they have said is they are banning transgenders from racing women if they are male. They're perfectly free to enter the man's race. No one's stopping them. And if they want to organise their own transgender race, nobody's stopping them. The only problem is there's so few of them, they won't get enough competition to make a transgender race. Peter Stanton is a significant benefactor of the Women's Cycle Classic, which is part of British Cycling's National Road Series. However, the petulant engineer has withdrawn his funding of the race and its men's junior equivalent because he's a petulant little idiot, over British cycling's totally unacceptable decision to effectively block trans riders from competing, which they haven't. The Cycle Classic event, due to take place in Leicester on June the 19th, now needs to find sponsorship money of £15,000 by the 10th of May to prevent cancellation. So, there'll be plenty of people out there willing to sponsor an event like this. Last week, British Cycling announced they were suspending their existing trans policy, pending a full review in the wake of the Emily Bridges controversy. It meant trans woman Bridges, a man, who had reduced his testosterone level required to ride as a female under the rules, was blocked from competing in domestic events such as the Cycle Classic. I am desperately saddened by the Emily Bridges case and the actions it has prompted me to take, said Stanton, who has sponsored the race since its inception in 2016. The transgender policy, adopted by British Cycling, had been the result of a full consultation process and was believed to have been working well until last week, when it was suspended without any further consultation. No, it wasn't working well. Many women were bullied into silence or felt pressured into silence, but no more. women have found a voice. And the trans lobby do not like women having a voice because it goes against everything they stand for, which is why they continually try to cancel women. Because trans people cannot be women whilst women exist. Because no matter what you do, you're still a man in a frock, while women are still women. So the only way a trans man can become a woman is if they cancel and redefine what a woman is. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to cancel women. And it's everywhere. It's policy in government, local government, in organisations, in the media, you name it. This women cancellation project is going ahead. And in fact, cycling is the first and so far only sport that has, pro tem at least, effectively banned trans from racing women. And good. It's unfair to the women. Whilst fully, this is Peter Stanton, the idiot, carrying on. Whilst fully supportive of women's sport, I also have many friends and colleagues within the transgender community whom I feel that I would be letting down if I did not make a stand to show my support for their rights. Well, that's fine. You can do what you like. You can take your money and you can shove it. It won't affect the banning of trans from racing against women because it's unfair for men to race against women. All you're doing is damaging the sport that you profess to love. But hey, you know, you're putting your agenda ahead of the sport, and that's fine. You're free to do that, but don't be surprised when people backlash against you. This is not the first case of a transgender riding competing under UCI rules, or even as part of an official UCI team. And to arbitrarily change that position based on one individual case, I find totally unacceptable. Well, first of all, he's just said it's not the first time, and so therefore it's not one individual case. So he opens his mouth and you can hear the stupid. Secondly, it's not arbitrary. It's not an arbitrary case because many complaints were made about it, and it was pushed because it was actually the sporting body that were arbitrary in their decision to allow men to race women based on testosterone alone. One tiny, tiny metric out of many, many metrics. And they haven't taken into consideration all the advantages that male puberty has. They just went with, this is the one thing we'll use because that's the only one thing we can change. You can't change anything else, but you can change your testosterone level. Oh, well, that'll be the important one then. Never mind the muscle strength. Never mind the bone density. Never mind the lung capacity. Never mind the biochemistry. No, we'll just go with the testosterone level. Because you're a man who wants to be a woman, but you're never, ever, ever going to be a woman. He goes on, because he will. I sincerely hope that a satisfactory resolution to his case and that of similar cases in the future can be quickly found in the interest of all parties involved and in sport in general. Yes, we've already sorted this out. It's easy. Transgender men can race against men. Ta-da! Problem sorted. Off you go. Thanks for playing. Next. Okay, they're going to say it's unfair. Yeah, well, life's unfair. There's no manual of life that says life has to be fair. What you have is a man who decides to become a woman, and he makes a choice. And that choice has consequences. And when he makes his choice, he is fully aware of those consequences. He makes that choice, and that's fine. Why should everyone else suffer because he's made the wrong choice, or he doesn't like the results of his choice, or he doesn't understand that the rest of the world are going to not bow down and say, yeah, that's okay, you've made a choice. We must allow you to do this, isn't this, because of your choice. No. He knew the choice. He knew the consequences of that choice before he made that choice. Done. If the trans lobby want to have a race, just men, not very good men racing, that's fine. You know, slow man. Have a slow man race. It's fine. That's what it is. It's a race for slow men. Anyway, you can have that. You can give yourself medals. basically just a circle jerk, but you can give yourself medals, it's fine. But anyway, to continue, as previously reported by Sportsmail, Prime Minister Boris Johnson, the lying crook, entered the row last week as he said, "I don't think that biological men should be competing in female sporting events. I don't think that you should be Prime Minister after breaking the law." But I do agree with you on this point. His intervention followed furious debate in recent weeks over the participation of Bridges and transgender US swimmer Leah Thomas in women's sporting competitions. British Cycling updated its transgender and non-binary participation policy in January, which enabled Bridges to take part in a women's category. Wrongly. Bridges, who started hormone therapy last year, could enter the British Omnium Championships due to his testosterone levels being below 5 nanomoles per litre for a 12-month period prior to the event. The only metric that seemed to count. But the world governing body, the Union Cycliste Internationale, thwarted the Welsh rider's plans to compete at the event in Derby because it had not yet deemed him eligible to race in international competitions, and he therefore had to pull out at the 11th hour. He would have been able to compete in domestic events, but that was not made possible due to the move by British Cycling. Bridges' mother, Sandy Sullivan, responded shortly after the news was made public, saying her son had been dumped by email. A British Cycling spokesman said, on Wednesday the 6th of April, British Cycling Board of Directors voted in favour of an immediate suspension of the current policy pending a full review which will be initiated in the coming weeks. That review will be looking at, should we allow men to race women? And if the answer is anything other than no, then every woman in every sport needs to just give it up right now. Give it up, girls, because the men are coming, and you ain't going to beat them. So that's the review. And that's how easy it is to win. You've already won in cycling because it is effectively dead. They know that there's already been, what's the word I'm looking for? There's already been threatened boycotts. And this is why the UCI actually jumped so quickly. And it is why British Cycling reacted so quickly, is because the lady cyclist threatened to boycott. And they said, if you let men race us, we're not racing. And so you have all this sponsorship and all this time and trouble and expense. And then there's one man racing himself. Because no women are going to race, because why should they race a man? And that's why they did it. And the women have won. And they will continue to win simply by boycotting. If you don't play, you win. Also, with the review, they know also that they need to look at beyond testosterone level. And once you go across away from that one metric, it is unjustifiable in any way, shape or form. Completely unjustifiable. And they know that. And that is why the trans lobby jump on the one metric that they can control. Because they can't control anything else. Anyway, moving on with the piece. And this is British Cycling. As an organisation, we remain committed to ensuring that transgender and non-binary people are welcomed, supported and celebrated, whatever celebrated means. Hey, it's transgender time! I don't know, quick, pop the champagne. There's a man over there who's had his balls cut off. I think that's celebrating, whatever. And the inclusion of these groups within non-competitive activities remains unaffected by the suspension. Actually, it really doesn't. It's still an issue. Why should women going out in a women's only group have to put up with a man there if they feel threatened by a male presence? Also, changing rooms, but that's another argument. We will also continue to work tirelessly to ensure that our sport remains free of hate. Yeah, well, stop hating women then. Discrimination, stop discriminating against women then. And abuse, stop abusing women then in all forms. And that we prioritise the welfare of riders. Especially women riders, Because you're not doing that at the moment. Volunteers, event organisers, commissaires and others that our sport can't continue without. But your sport is going to die if you allow men to race women. So you need to look at that. The silence is because I've seen the next line. I'd like someone to explain to me what this is. Natal female athletes had been considering boycotting the British Omnium Championship. Natal females. The Daily Mail. Remember earlier in this piece I said that the media was all part of cancelling women. The Daily Mail, instead of using the word women, has decided to go with natal females. Are you a natal female, ladies? Are you? Are you a natal female? Or are you a woman? Do you want to dress up and look like a natal female? Do you want to put a bit of lippy on, become a natal female? What the hell is a natal female? Oh, that's right. It's the word they use instead of women because they're still trying to cancel women. The Daily Mail is as bad as every trans who's trying to kill and end the existence of women. Natal females. We all need to write to the Daily Mail and tell them to stop being a misogynist hate group. Because the Daily Mail is an anti-woman misogynist hate group. Natal female athletes, I won't say that again, female athletes, women athletes, the lady athletes, had been considering boycotting the British Omnium Championships if Bridges had been allowed to compete. And British Cycling's head of Olympic programmes, Sarah Symington, co-signed a letter to the UCI criticising its current policy on transgender inclusion. Yes, because no woman wants to race a man. The letter signatories claimed that the UCI's current rules do not guarantee female athletes fair and meaningful competition. And despite the Prime Minister's calls for Bridges to be banned, UK Sport, the body responsible for distributing public money, insisted they would happily hand him lottery money if he was deemed eligible to ride by cycling's world governing body. Thankfully not. And is good enough to compete for England or for Great Britain. Thankfully not. Well, not as a man, but if he races women then he is. But that just means that a woman loses a place and a woman loses funding because UK Cycling are also a misogynistic anti-women hate group. We will support every or any athlete whose sport or governing body has deemed to have future potential and is eligible to compete. Yeah, we want to cancel women is what they're saying there. And it just goes on with what I'm saying. So there we have an example of two things. One, a tiny-minded, hypocritical, misogynistic man who hates women enough to pull sponsorship from races, backed by the Daily Mail, who now won't even use the word women and has to use natal females, so it too is a misogynistic anti-woman hate group. It's great, isn't it? Hey, women, I hope you realise that you are worthless, pointless, and doomed to just become bland, mindless drones. Because that's the direction of travel unless you stand up and fight, and we will stand with you. It's just these tiny, woke, lefty wankers with their tiny, woke, lefty brains that want to cancel you. But the trans lobby don't want to cancel you. They have to cancel you because they can't be women while women exist. Anyway, I'm going to come up and round this off. So let that man, Peter Stanion, pull his funding. Nobody cares. That'll be replaced. He has shown the world that he is an anti-woman misogynist piece of filth. Let the trans lobby continue their argument to say no, they deserve to be able to beat women because it will just highlight the sad state of affairs that these sad mental people have, that they're incapable of beating men, but they want to win, so they'll beat women. And if they lose the right to beat women, they'll probably identify as children and go, I want to beat 5-year-olds. Personally, I wouldn't let any of them near any child. They are mental. If you're in the body and you say it's the wrong body, this isn't a physical issue, it's a mental issue. The Daily Mail are now showing themselves up to be misogynistic, women-hating cucks. But ladies, you have a huge amount of support. 99.9% of the population support the right of women to have women-only spaces, to have women-only sports. They support fairness. And don't forget that you have the greatest weapon of all, non-compliance. The moment a man turns up on a field of sport, you say no and walk away and leave him to be the only one there. And you do that and you win. You win, because there's no way the sport can exist. Because if you don't do it, no point you being sportsmen. Aha! Sportswomen. Because the men will come and they'll take every place and they'll take every bit of funding because they're bigger and faster and stronger. Anyway, I shall draw a veil over this episode and we shall move towards the end. If you like what you hear and see on the channel, please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Ring the bell for notifications for future output. Leave a like, leave a comment, and until next time, stay safe, stay well, and goodbye.